Hey guys, Sean from Bantam Overland. Today we have something special from Kicker. A lot of you guys run without tops or just have the bikini tops on and want something but still want to have it protected from the elements. Well, now we do. So here at Bantam Overland, we get a lot of calls asking if we have any audio products that are weather resistant. This is a brand new bundle featuring Kicker marine products. So they're weather resistant, and some of these are IP66 rated. So let's go over what's included in our Kicker marine bundle. So first we have the Kicker KXMA 900.5. So that is a 5-channel amplifier that'll give you 75 by 4 at 4 ohms or 125 by 4 at 2 ohms. It also has a subwoofer channel. Now that subwoofer channel does 400 watts at 2 or 1 ohm. That amp is 1 ohm stable. Now that is a weather resistant marine amplifier. Now as far as the subwoofer, we have the Kicker MWLE10. Now this is a 10-inch subwoofer with a 10-inch reflex subwoofer. Now that's very, very similar to a passive radiator and some of their other subwoofer enclosures that we carry. This unit is also IP66 rated weatherproof. Now this is a 400 watt RMS enclosure, which goes perfectly with the 905, and it does 800 watts peak power. As a part of the bundle, you'll also receive everything necessary to do all of your installation. So we have our wiring harness, we have our 6-channel RCAs, we have our pre-terminated power wire and ground wire, we have our subwoofer wire cable. The amplifier is included with a subwoofer control knob. We have our pre-terminated subwoofer harness, as well as our JK passenger side amp rack. Now this will come all ready to go, pre-drilled, everything is terminated, ready for you to install in your garage or in your driveway. So if you have any concerns about your audio equipment ever getting wet, this is a perfect solution for you. And as well as it also pairs perfectly with any of our Bantam Overland 8-speaker Kicker bundles. So let's go over some of the tools necessary to do the disassembly, the installation, as well as the reassembly. First, we have a powered screw gun. You can use a manual screw gun if you so choose. We have a pair of cutters, as well as wire ties. We have a panel popper, a 3mm Allen wrench. Now that will be used mainly to secure all the power wire, speaker wires into the amplifier. Now Kicker provides a small Allen wrench with the amplifier. We have a 1/4-inch extension, a 7mm socket, a 10mm socket, and a 1/4-inch wrench. Now those are most of the tools you'll need to complete the installation. Now, depending on the level of customization you've already done to your Jeep, you may need a couple of other things. Just make note of what you're going to need before you begin the installation. With that said, now we can go hop into our Jeep, begin our disassembly. We're going to start removing the dash. We're going to remove the passenger side seat, and we're going to remove the kick panel on the passenger side as well. So let's go ahead, hop in, get this installation going. Now we can begin with the process of disassembling our Jeep for the install. I like to start with removing my passenger seat. To do that, you're going to remove 4 18mm bolts holding the bottom of the seat, as well as 1 T45 holding in the seat belt. From there, we're going to move to removing the glove box, as well as removing the sill plates. So for the installation, you do not have to remove the seat. You will still have to remove the 4 18mm bolts to lean the seat back. I just prefer to remove the seat entirely. So let's go ahead, get all of our bolts out, get our glove box out, as well as our sill plate, so we can begin our installation. So I've got my 18mm on my impact gun. You can also use a socket wrench if that's all you have. We're going to go ahead and remove the 2 bolts in the front of the seat, and then we're going to move to the back of the seat. So let's get those front 2 bolts out. So put them in a safe place, put them up by the cup holder. Now we're just going to slide the seat forward and remove the 2 bolts out of the rear. So now that the seat is unbolted, I like to remove the headrest. It just makes it easier to pull the seat out and remove. And then we have one more bolt we need to take out. It is a T45 that's holding the seat belt to the seat itself, as well as one plug that is underneath the seat that will have to be unplugged as well. So let's get this T45 out, seat flipped up, and the plug unplugged. We're just going to slide the fabric back, and that will reveal the T45 that holds the seat belt in. So we can go ahead and get that removed. So get that bolt removed and remove the seat belt, and then go ahead and just slide that bolt right back in just for safekeeping. From there, we can go ahead, slide the seat back and lean it up to reveal our plug that we're going to need to remove. So there's a red stop here. Now that's actually what holds the plug in together. We're going to slide that down. You're going to hear a click, then you're going to depress the yellow button on the plug and then slide off to remove the seat. From there, just go ahead, pick it up and take it out. So now we have our seat out. Next, we need to remove our sill plate as well as our glove box. As far as the glove box, just drop it down, push it in on either side, and just pull it straight out. So now we need to remove our sill plate here. We need to remove 2 pop clips, one here, one here. Just gently take your panel removal tool, get under there, and just pry up, setting that in a safe spot. And go ahead and remove the rear one, same way, and pull up, setting that one in a safe spot. Now to remove, you're going to pull out just a hair, pulling up on the back side to release, pop it out and remove. Now you'll have these little clips that hold into the side. Just confirm and double check that you have 2 of those in there and they're not stuck on the body of the Jeep. So now our passenger area is prepped for the install. Next, we're going to go ahead, remove our head unit and get that ready to run our RCAs as well as our plug-and-play speaker harness. We need to remove a couple of panels as well as 4 screws. We're going to remove the lower panel below the steering column. That will reveal 2 screws. We'll need to remove the window switch, or in some cases you'll have a pocket that will have 1 screw behind it, as well as on top of the dash we'll remove our plastic insert and there'll be 1 up there. So to remove this lower panel, just gently pull and lift out. That will reveal these 2 7mm. Once those 2 are removed, you're going to grab your either plastic or metal panel popper, gently stick underneath the pocket or the window switch, pull out, and you're going to push and release. There is one screw on the inside. Go ahead and remove that. And then the last one is on top of the dash. Just remove the insert and remove the one screw on top. Now that we've gotten all of our bolts out of our dash, it's time to remove that top part of the dash. So I like to just put my steering wheel down, lock it back in, and just gently pull it out, releasing it all the way, lifting it up, and just getting it up and out of my way. Once we remove the dash, it'll reveal the 4 bolts holding in the radio. So once we get these 4 bolts out, the radio will come out. So now all 4 bolts are out. We can gently lay our radio to the side. So now it's time to start with running our RCAs as well as our speaker wires from the head unit down to where we're going to have the amp, which is underneath the passenger side seat. So again, remember that our kit will only work with the aftermarket head units using the Maestro unit, because we do make everything for you. We actually put the ends on for the Maestro and the RCAs. So with that being said, let's go ahead and start with our speaker wire. So I prefer to run it up through the glove box and then behind the metal bracing here. So I'm going to go ahead and just snake that up through here, pull it out, and then come right behind the metal bracing so that nothing can really get snagged. So there. So we have our remote wire, we have our front speakers, which is the white connector, and then we have our rear speakers, which is the black connector. So first thing we'll do, we'll go ahead and grab our remote wire, get that plugged in. That's what's actually going to feed the amplifier to turn it on and off when your vehicle is on or off. Next, we'll go ahead and find our Maestro connections here. So we have our 2 plugs. Now you want to make sure you have the female side of the plug because we have the male. So go ahead and plug green into the black and white into the white. So now we have all of our connections made to our speaker wire. Next, we can go ahead and grab our RCAs. They're already pre-bundled. Now each side will have some writing, front left, front right, subwoofer, so on and so forth. So we'll go over all of those. So I'm actually going to run them the exact same way as I ran my speaker wire. So just kind of fish it up between the glove box and the dash here. And now just be a little more gentle when you're running these through the dash, because if you get stuck anywhere, you could rip off one of the tips of the RCAs. That would be no good. So then go ahead and feed it behind the metal plate. Now, if you don't have the metal plate because you have a different head unit, not a big deal. Just go ahead and run it up through. So now we're going to go ahead and grab our head unit, get it situated here. So here are our RCAs. Now this is a Sony 9000, so it may be a little bit different depending on what head unit you're using. Now we want to go through each RCA, get each one plugged in. So the first one I have here is front left and front right. So let's go ahead and find our front speakers. So there's my front right, there's my front left. So go ahead and get each one of those plugged in. So front left is white on the head unit, front left is gray on our RCAs. Get those plugged in. So then next, front right is red. On our RCAs it's blue. Again, just make sure you have those that writing there. Go ahead and get those plugged in. So there's that one. So let's see, what is next? Next we have our sub right and our sub left. Now I know on the Sony, the subwoofer is black, and it doesn't really matter how you plug them in, but they have it labeled. So first one here is sub right. So let's go ahead and plug our blue into that. And then next is sub left. So let's go ahead and plug our gray into that one. And now we know that the last one should be our rear speakers. So first we have our rear audio right. So let's go ahead and plug our blue RCA into that. And then we have our rear audio left. We'll go ahead, rear left, get that plugged in. So now that we have everything kind of plugged in, we can go ahead and hold our head unit and just kind of gently pull our RCAs and our speaker wire back through so we don't have any extra bundles back in the back. And then we can start sliding our head unit back in. A little more RCA there, there we go. So, and just kind of make sure we're not going to pinch anything, kind of getting it back in. But there we go. So I'm going to hold it there, get some of these bolts restarted in here. So now we got all 4 bolts restarted. So if you're comfortable with how everything is behind the dash, you can go ahead and put the 4/7 mils back in, get your dash back on, get that back together, and then we're going to move on to behind the glove box, get the wires run, and down to where our amplifier will end up sitting. So I'm going to go ahead and grab my 7 mil, get my radio back in, but I'm not going to put the dash back on quite yet. Just going to go ahead and get that tightened down. And so let me grab my 7. Okay, now I have it all tightened back down. I'm going to go ahead, like I said, leave the dash off for now, but move over to the passenger side and get everything wire tied and run down the kick panel and then underneath the passenger seat. So let's go over how to mount our kicker amp to our amp mounting bracket. Now, you'll see lots of pre-drilled and threaded holes on here. The holes we're going to use are the ones that have no thread in them or anything. Those are the ones that we drill for you to mount this amp on the bracket. It'll also come with 4 M4 bolts by 50 millimeter, as well as washers and nuts. So this is where it kind of is personal preference. You can mount your amp like such. This is the front of the vehicle. This will go under the rear of the seat and bolt down through. It's completely up to you. Personally, I'm actually going to mount it the other way with my connectors facing forward, so I have access to all of my gain and crossover controls at the back of the seat, so I don't have to do any weird maneuvering if I want to adjust anything. So let's go ahead and get started mounting it. So grab our bolts, our nuts, and our washers here. So we'll get it placed on there in the general spot and drop one down in there. Find our other one. There we go. So we'll go ahead, do the same thing with the other 2. Get them dropped down in there. There we go. So now I can kind of show you from the back what it should look like there. So all of them are in. So from here, you can go ahead, grab one of these small washers and the nut and get that on there. Now do the same thing for the rest of them. Go ahead and get this one here. Put that on. Now flip it around. washer and a nut. And the last one. Just get them snugged up. There we go. Now this is where we're going to tighten it. So the top, you're going to have your handheld Phillips screwdriver or your power screwdriver. And then on the other side, you'll have a 7mm. So I'm just going to go ahead and tighten it. So that's that one. Okay, now it's all tight. So make sure it's tight. No rattles, anything like that. So now our amp rack has our amplifier mounted on it. We know that this is the front, this is the rear, so we can go ahead, set that to the side. Now I wanted to show you a couple things on the subwoofer enclosure. So first of all, we have our connector port. Again, already pre-terminated with a male and female bullet, and you're gonna run the actual subwoofer wire back. That will have the exact same thing on that side. That will just plug in. Now you have the ability to mount this a couple different ways. We are going to use it in a downfire configuration. So the bolts will go on just like this. So go in with the feet facing down. Now you can also screw it in if you choose. We will not screw it in our Jeep. You can have it sitting like this, having the feet on the sides here and facing the back. You can have it sitting like such with the feet on the bottom and it firing up. Completely up to you. Doesn't matter how you do it. It'll sound great. But like I said, we're gonna actually do it and have it sitting as a downfire here. There we go. So just like this in the back. So now it's time to go ahead, get our amp bracket in, get everything wired up, get our subwoofer wire run. We'll then come back, turn it on, do a little tuning to the amplifier, making sure everything is set to where it needs to be, and see how she sounds. So now it's time to get our speaker wire and our RCAs run. So I like to go across the top of the glove box. You'll see a small vent tube for this air duct here. I like to wire tie to that and then drop behind the passenger side dash speaker and then down and then run it around. You can do this any way you choose, completely up to you. I will tell you that, like, I currently have 8-inch wire ties. I need to put 2 wire ties together to make this happen, but let's go ahead and continue running it. I already have one already kind of set in there, but let's go ahead and continue on getting these run. So as you can see, it just kind of hides it nice and neat up behind the glove box here. So that way nothing will get in the way of the glove box. We won't have any problems with anything. So go ahead and cut this wire tie. Get that spun. So now what we want to do is we want to get our wiring behind and then down here. So we're going to go ahead, grab each one, fish it down through. Actually, there we go. So there's my speaker wire. Get my RCAs out of there. So now I have that. I'll be able to kind of keep that all nice and neat there. Next is the RCAs. We're going to go the same way. And just like you were fishing the RCAs behind the head unit, you just want to be cautious. Take your time, make sure nothing happens to the tips of the RCAs. So from there, we can kind of get it set to where it's going to go. So I know I'm going to run it something like that. So next thing, now that this is through the glove box, put away. Just make sure if you need any other wire ties, go ahead and do that now. So next we're going to go ahead, hop up to the front, run the power wire, get that dropped in, and then we'll just kind of wire tie and clean up all of our wires at one time. So we're not wasting too many wire ties, and we're going to do that now. We're going to start underneath the hood. We have everything that we need. We have our power wire, our fuse holder, our cutters, wire ties, wire fish, Allen wrench, and a razor knife, as well as our light. So the easiest way that I've found to run a power wire in a Jeep is just behind the factory wiring here. So what you're going to do is you're just going to gently pull off and push down the wires, and then just right behind this little foam piece, there's a piece of tape covering an opening. You're going to want to take a razor knife or a longer screwdriver, poke a hole directly inside, giving yourself a little bit of an opening to feed your wire fish. So slide that in, and you should be able to feel that slide pretty freely in and out. So from there, we're going to grab our power wire with the side that is not wrapped. We're going to attach that to our wire fish with some electrical tape. Again, when you wrap your tape, you want to wrap it down. So go ahead and get that all done. So now we have that attached. Just gently feed into the vehicle. You may get a little bit of resistance in the initial push through, but then you should be able to feed it all the way down. I'm going to go in on the inside and pull it the rest of the way through. So get it in, then we can go ahead and place that all back on there. And we have an approximate location for where our fuse holder is going to sit. We're going to grab our fuse holder and our Allen set. So once you pull out the terminal lock, stick in your power wire and go ahead and tighten the terminal lock, making sure it doesn't come out. We have our fuse holder cover. Put that on. Obviously, we're going to want it to sit so we can see the name. Now, I personally like to wire tie it. We will send you a piece of industrial Velcro if you want to mount it somewhere else. But I'm going to go ahead and attach it to this wire frame using a wire tie. So just get it right where we want it. And go ahead and tighten them down, cutting off any excess. And then just push those up and out of the way. So now we have plenty to go right to our battery, so we can leave that out. I'm going to go inside and just get this pulled the rest of the way in. There we go. Perfect. You do not want to hook your power wire up yet. You want to go ahead, get your amp all set up, get everything plugged in, grounded before we go ahead and hook up power. So let's go inside the Jeep, get our amp all hooked up, then come back out here and hook up the power. So now our power wire is inside the vehicle. we can actually start going ahead and getting everything cleaned up and wire tied and run right into this general area. So go ahead and I'm going to get a wire tie back here on my harness. Hold my power wire in place. Go ahead and cut off the excess and push it around. There we go. So now that's nice and tight. So now we can move on, get our speaker wire and RCAs and everything all nice and tight here. So give yourself just a little bit of slack to make sure your kick panel can get back on. So like that. Grab another wire tie. Go ahead and get that all wire tied in there. And again, once your kick panel goes on, we'll get a wire tie up here. Get that all on there. Just like that. And it'll be hidden. So now we can continue on down here. So there, and get one more right around here. So there we go. Let's go ahead and get these wire ties cut. There we go. So now we want to get it in underneath. So we'll go ahead and remove this little plastic hold down, get that off. So now we need to get our wires run through this little area here. So we're going to go ahead, if you still have it, you're going to remove this little hold down. So just twist and turn up. Then you'll be able to kind of peel the carpet back away. So we just want to kind of get it like that. But I don't want to make sure that this is out. So I'll hold that there. So let's grab wire tie, get one right around here somewhere. Then tighten that down. Cut it. So now we can actually go ahead and put that carpet back down. Main reason we can do that now is we have our RCAs, we have our speaker wires, we have our power wire. Our ground wire will go right on the transmission hump. Show you that when we get to that part. So now that we're here, we kind of need to test fit the amp rack in, make sure we ran our wires with enough wire to get everything all plugged in. So let's go ahead, grab that amp rack, give that a try. So we have the amp rack, so we can go ahead, kind of get everything out of the way, get it located onto the pin. There we go. So now it sits in there pretty nicely. So my power wire will be good, my RCAs will be good, and speaker wires are going to be pretty close, so I may have to pull just a little more back through here to get them to plug in. So it's pretty important to double check everything so you don't, get everything mounted down and now you can't actually reach any of that stuff. So let's just go ahead and get a little bit more length pulled through. Probably need 2 inches or so, something like that. There we go. So that'll be good there. So now that we have our power wire, our RCAs, as well as our speaker wire to our amp area, we know everything fits. We know how we get there. So now we're going to go ahead and grab some of the tools necessary to actually wire our amplifier up. Going to grab our Allen wrench, grab our ground, grab our 10mm socket to do the new ground, and grab our subwoofer wire that we're going to run back to the new enclosure. So let's go ahead, grab that stuff, and start wiring up the amplifier. I've already loosened up all of our Allen screws here, but I'm going to start with the RCAs first. So here I have front left RCA and front right RCA. That'll plug into the amp 1 section. Gray will be white, blue will be red. So go ahead and get the blue plugged into the red and the gray into the white. Next one we're going to go ahead and plug in is rear left and rear right. So that'll plug into amp 2. Again, blue will plug into red, gray will plug into right. And then finally we have our sub left and sub right that will plug into the subsection. Again, blue to red, gray to white. So get those all plugged in. Now we can kind of get that out of the way by just tucking it back under the carpet and kind of cleaning it up a little bit. So next thing we want to do is we're going to go ahead and put in our 12-volt wire. So over on this bigger section here towards the passenger side, we have 12 volts, we have our remote, and then we have ground. So our power wire will go into the 12-volt one. So just slide it in. I'll have to open this up just a hair more. There we go. And then go ahead and tighten it down. There you go, give it a little tug on it, make sure it won't just come right out. Then we can go ahead and grab our ground wire, same thing for that. Make sure it fits in. Go ahead and tighten that down. And give it a little tug on that. So that's good. Now that's going to go right over here as well. So now we have our speaker wires as well as our remote wire. So first, let's go ahead and kind of get our remote wire run. So we'll slide it into the remote and then tighten that down. Get a little tug, make sure that won't come out. Since we're over on this side already, let's go ahead and run our subwoofer cables. Now there are two colors, yellow and black. Yellow is going to be positive, that's going to go in the first one. The black or the ground will go in the second one. Just go ahead and slip both of those in and tighten those down. Now we'll run them in a little bit. Let's just get everything else all hooked up. There we go, give it a little tug, that's good. Actually just kind of tuck that underneath here because that'll go underneath this carpet and then run back. So now that we have our power, our ground, our remote, our RCAs, and our sub wire all hooked up, all we have left to do is hook our speaker wires up. So you'll see that there are two sections of 4. The first one is going to be amp 1, so that's going to be our front. And the second one is amp 2, that's going to be our rear. So we're going to go ahead and just double check. So we have right rear negative. So that will be our gray with a black stripe. So go ahead and stick that in and tighten it down. Again, always give a little tug, make sure it doesn't come out. Next, we have our right positive. So that will just be gray. So go ahead, get that in, get that tightened down. Next we have left negative, so that will be white with a black stripe. Here she is. Let's go ahead and slide that one in, tighten that one down. And finally, left positive. You guessed it, it's white. Go ahead and get that one in. So now we got all those tightened down. You should have gray with a black stripe, gray, white with a black stripe, and white. So now we've done that, we can go ahead and move over to amp 2. So first one is right negative once again. So right negative is going to be purple and black. So just like the rest of them, get it in, tighten it down. Next we will do our right positive, which is just purple. Slide that in. Get that tightened down. From there, move on to the left negative of amp 2. That is green with a black stripe. Do a little tug, and then finally, last wire left is green, and that will be the left positive of the rear speakers. So on amp 2, we should have purple with black, purple, green with black, and green. So let's go over some of the switches that are located on the front side of the amp. So first we have our remote bass plug. That's actually just a plastic cover covering it. Now if you have a radio that does not have a subwoofer pre-out or a non-fading pre-out, you can always use that to give yourself the ability to turn your subwoofer up and down. In this case, I'm not going to use it because we do have sub control. So from there we have our auto turn on function. You'll notice there's a 12 volt, a DC, and an audio. We're going to leave that on 12 volts since we're actually feeding it a remote line from our head unit. So we're going to leave that alone. Next we have our audio input level. So you have either high or low. We're going to leave that pushed out so you can push it in, push it out. So actually, yep, we're going to leave that out because out is low level since we're using RCAs. Next we have our fader. We're going to leave that on, so plugged, pushed in. And then we have our sub input, so it can either run off of the amp 2 or its own RCA. We're going to have that pushed in, so it's running off of the sub RCA. So that's all we really need to make sure we have done for the front of the amp. So now we have two things left to do before we finally finish kind of with our amplifier. So we need to ground it, and then we need to run our sub wire back to the back. So as far as grounding it, super simple. There's a factory 10mm bolt on the transmission hump. We're going to go ahead and remove that. So we remove that 10mm bolt, lift up that factory ground, kind of feed our new kicker ground in there, put that on, then don't forget to put on that factory ground again and get it back on and tighten it down. So now that that's tight, you can go ahead and grab a couple of wire ties, just do a little cleanup of the wiring however you would like. So let's go ahead and get our subwoofer wire run. We've already kind of gotten it under the carpet. We're going to go back underneath, do some wire tying back here, but let's go ahead and just get it all tied in here. So just get a wire tie, get it tightened down. So now we're going to grab our wire ties and we're just going to kind of get it under the B-pillar trim. You can just very easily lift it up and kind of fish it underneath there. If you want to remove the B-pillar trim, you can absolutely do that.
So go ahead and get it all the way under, right to here. So we'll grab our wire ties. So once you're happy with how you have it here, go ahead and undo your carpet, kind of pull it out a little bit, and you'll see your wires. So just grab another wire tie. Just grab a wire tie, go ahead and get that tied down and cut off. So next from here, we're going to start fishing our wires underneath the carpet completely. So we have it just like that. Get that all folded down. Now underneath the carpet here, you'll actually be able to reach the whole way up under. So from here, you can go ahead and just fish the wire up through and to the back. Well, we'll have to go to the back and pull it the rest of the way through. So now we have it underneath the carpet. You can actually pull it up and kind of feed it wherever you would like. I like going through the seat belt hole here, just kind of pulling it up, having enough for my sub, no matter if I'm going to have it here or on the other side or where I'm going to have it, but I like to have a little extra. So now that our sub wire is run, we have enough to go wherever we need to go. We can go ahead, get that seat folded back up, and then get any of our excess wire kind of out of the way and zip tied, so we know we have extra if we need it. So we'll go ahead and just kind of get it bundled up. And you don't have to do this. You can pull it all through. Doesn't really matter. It's not going to affect anything. But this way, if I need the extra, it's there. I have it. So now we can go ahead and just make sure all our carpet's back down. Make sure there's no bumps. So there, we're all good. So next, it's time to go ahead, grab the subwoofer, get it put in the back wherever you would like, and get it plugged in. So let's do that next. I already have it plugged in. I have my male and female bullets here. So go ahead, get it wherever you would like to place it, whether it's there or there. However you want to place it, it's completely up to you. If you're going to be screwing it down or using some sort of industrial Velcro to mount it down, just be careful, especially screwing. Gas tank is directly below the cargo compartment, so just be careful. For me, I'm just going to have it kind of sitting right in the middle there, but I'm going to show you how to connect it. So first things first, kind of have our connectors. So you'll notice the black wire and the black wire, male and female. Go ahead and get those two plugged in together and pushed in like such. And then you'll have another male on the yellow and a female on the blue wire off the sub enclosure. Go ahead and get those plugged in and pushed together. So they should look like that. So from there, go ahead and mount your sub enclosure, again, wherever you would like. That's completely up to you. So for now, I'm just going to go ahead and leave that there. I'm not going to screw it down or Velcro it down. So next, we have to go ahead and look at the amplifier, make sure it's properly tuned for our system. So this has our Bantam Overland 8-speaker kicker system in it. Now it has the kicker 5 channel, kicker subwoofer, and the aftermarket head unit. So let's go ahead, double check that amplifier, get the gain set, and give her a listen. So now we're going to go ahead and go through all the crossover and gain settings on our amplifier. Again, this has the 8-speaker kicker bundle from Bantam Overland in it. So let's go ahead and get to the back of the amplifier. You're going to see two 3mm Allen wrenches at the beginning. Take them off, and you're going to fold that down. All right, once you open it up, you'll have a couple of your settings here. First, we have our amp 1, which is our front. So we have our gain, our crossover settings, our frequency of the crossover, and the range. Next, we have the exact same thing for the rear speakers. And then lastly, we have our sub. So looking at our gain, let's see here, it goes from 0 to 11. So it actually, the line in the gain pot is kind of pointed at 11. So we're going to go ahead and take that and move that to about 9 o'clock. So we're going to take our filter section, slide it over one to high pass. Let's go ahead and turn our crossover up. So there's a very small little dot. That's why it looks like it's turned up all the way and you're turning it over. So it's really, really hard to see here, but it is right at the 10 here. So go ahead and turn that somewhere 70, 80, something like that, because we don't really want anything to go, we don't want any of the sound below 80 hertz to come through those front speakers. As far as our range, we're just going to leave it at the 1. Now moving on to the rear speakers, we're going to turn those to about the same. So we'll go to like where the what I originally said, which was 9 o'clock, but it's actually 12 o'clock. And then we're just going to turn it just down a little bit. Again, let's go ahead and put our high pass filter on. We're going to adjust this the exact same, so right in the same area. And then as far as the low pass crossover, we're just going to leave that alone and leave it at the 1 as well. As far as my subwoofer, I like a little bit of sub, so I'm going to give that to about 2 p.m. It's not a ported enclosure, so I'm not going to do anything with my subsonic filter. My low pass filter, I'm going to turn to about 80 or so. And then the kick EQ, I'm just going to give it a little bit of a bump to probably about 8 o'clock or so. So those settings are a judgment. You can start there, turn up, turn down, depending on the type of music you listen to, how you listen to your music, so on and so forth. Everybody's going to be a little bit different. You can always add bass and treble in your head unit to give yourself a little salt and pepper. Again, completely up to you. Everybody's going to listen to their music differently and on different sources. You may strictly listen to the radio, you may strictly listen to satellite radio or Pandora or Spotify. However you listen, you're going to probably make some other adjustments to your amplifier. So if you mounted it like this, you're going to always have easy access to all of your settings from behind your seat. If you mount it the other way, it may be a little bit more difficult to adjust those settings with the seat in place. So now I'm just going to turn the Jeep on. I need to connect my phone real quick. Just make sure that all of the speakers are playing, as well as the subwoofer. Okay, now it's connecting. Got a little static in the background from the radio. Okay, now we're connected. So now I can go ahead and play something, some Spotify. So give this a little volume here. I can hear that all of my speakers are working, as well as my subwoofer. So we can go ahead and turn this off. Confident that everything's going to work, so we can actually go ahead and start putting the vehicle back together. We're going to want to get, a wire tie on the wires in this kick panel, get that pushed in, and then we're going to get the kick panel on, get the seat in, make sure we plug the seat in, and then finally get the glove box and the dashboard back together. So let's go ahead, get all that done, and then give a true listen to our new amplifier and subwoofer. So let's start with getting our kick panel back on. I already have a wire tie up here. I'm just going to go ahead and tighten that up just so it stays a little closer to the side here. Then we're going to go ahead and get our kick panel in. Easiest way I've found is just kind of slide it underneath there. And then you got to get it underneath and then push it in. So you'll have two push pins. Bigger push pin will go in the middle, and the smaller one will go at the bottom of the B pillar here, and just push that in. Everything's locked. The wires are nice and tight up against there. We'll go ahead and get the glove box in now. Just go ahead and line up the two hinges here to here. Get them on there. And then push in on the sides and then close it. Now we can move on to the passenger seat. Get that, lock the amp rack completely down. Again, don't forget to plug in your airbag and seat sensor for the passenger side seat. So let's go ahead and grab that. So before we grab the seat, we just want to make sure our amp rack is lined up with the holes. Make sure everything's good. We have everything out. Now you want to be careful not to throw the seat back in or drop it on top of the amplifier. You may scratch it. Again, we want to be careful bringing it into the vehicle. Be gentle with it. So first thing we want to do, make sure we plug our plug in. Then we can kind of slowly inch it on top of the amp rack and then drop our seat down. There we go. Now one thing you want to do is kind of make sure it slides freely before you go ahead and start putting bolts in. So it does. Grab our seatbelt bolts, get them started. So, and then we're going to go ahead, slide the seat up and do the same thing for the rear, and then we'll tighten everything all at once. So as you can see here, our amp rack is underneath our seats. We still have the ability to get at our crossover settings when it's seats in. So let's go ahead and kind of get our seats started here. You always want to start them by hand. You never want to do it with a impact gun so you don't strip them out. So now we'll grab our 18 mil, go ahead and get those tight. One thing you'll also notice is it's a very tight fit, but it is still good. You're not actually on the seat itself. I have about a finger worth of room, so the amp has plenty of room to breathe. So let's go ahead, go to the front, get those tightened down, and then get our T45 for our seatbelt in, and then we can move on to the dash. So go ahead, get the front two tightened. So now our seat's tightened. We have one last thing to do on the seat, and that is re-bolt in our seatbelt. So slide your seat up a little bit, remove the T45 that you put back into the seat. So you want to get lined up in there. Just go ahead and start your bolt. And then go ahead and tighten it. So now that's nice and tight. You can see our seat under here. Amplifier is safe, sitting up a little bit just in case of any rain or water. So now we can go ahead and put our dash back on and give it a real listening. So if you haven't done so already, it's time to get the dash put back on. So let's go ahead and get that done. So just be gentle. There we go. There we go. So I'll get the 4 7mm screws or bolts back in. The one up top here. Then we have 2 down here. And then we'll get this other one here. Go ahead and grab our lower trim panel, just like the glove box. Just line up the 2 hooks in, push in, and then now for our window switch, if you don't have power windows, you'll just have a little pocket. So we'll go ahead and get our window switch out, get that plugged in, make sure we lock that tab, and just push it straight into the dash. And last but not least, our little cubby protector in there. So now we are all done with our reassembly. So now it's time to actually take a couple minutes, listen to it, set up your radio, whichever radio you may have. So let's go ahead, turn her on, take a listen. Apple CarPlay has connected. So let's go ahead and turn it up. Pretty happy with that. Right about at 0, no extra gain. But other than that, it sounds really impressive. So each one of these sets of speakers is getting about 75 watts each. So I have plenty of volume on the head unit. I can always add a little extra sub now if I want to get that deep, rich bass. Sounds much better than it did before the amp. You know, when we were just using the head unit power, it's about 20 to 25 watts at listening level of power. Now we have that 75 watts per channel going to each speaker and that 400 watts going to the subwoofer. So you, our customers, have been asking for a water resistant solution for your Jeep JK. Well, Bantam Overland has listened, and this is what we have come up with. It's a great sounding system. It'll improve every portion of your audio and your listening experience. So if you have any questions or are looking to purchase either our Marine audio bundle or our Kicker 8-speaker system, please visit us at bantamoverland.com. And as always, guys, have a blast out there.